Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, March 29th, and before I get any further, unfortunately I think we're at this point where I'm gonna have to do what every other YouTuber does and everybody hates. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel. There's a link down below to Patreon. Please follow me through that. I think we're going to have to start putting this at the front, unfortunately. I hate it. You hate it. We all hate it. I could probably make some vague promise that I would probably not follow up on, that once I get to 1,000 subscribers, I would stop doing that, but yeah, probably wouldn't happen. In particular, it would be nice to get back to 1,000 subscribers. So if you just could find one person, that's all I'm asking, is one person that would be willing to subscribe to my channel. They don't even have to watch any of my videos. Just click the subscribe button. Don't ever unsubscribe. That's all they have to do. If you can get that far, that would be great. By the time my 300 plus subscribers doubled, I would probably have enough momentum in YouTube's algorithm to get over the 1,000 subscriber level to just be able to run one ad at the end of videos or whenever. Like I think at the end of videos is probably where I'd like to put them, but I'm not even sure I can do that. Wednesday was bad as far as Hearthstone goes. Real bad. I guess theoretically the right move is to do this. Hey, we've got to watch and learn, which means we can just watch and learn and start with that. Yeah, it was not a good day. A lot of time was spent, 3 hours, trying to get the daily quest done and not finishing there. And then spending at least another 3 hours off screen later that evening. So hopefully this will improve. Also, I assume that the expansion might come out this Tuesday, but it might be next Tuesday, or it might be some Thursday. So we have just this weird nebulous month of April that we know an expansion is coming out, and that's kind of it. This guy's toasted an interesting thing. Hearthstone sent him what looked like a Japanese puzzle box, as how you describe it, and he was supposed to open the puzzle box. It didn't even look like it was a very complicated one as far as the number of steps to open it, and instead of really trying to open the box, he, in less than 5 minutes, broke the box and got a weapon, a warhammer, and smashed the box into pieces. And inside the box was the card that he was supposed to reveal. So they're giving to all the big streamers like one card to reveal, and they're just slowly going to stretch this out, which is probably not the bad idea. It does potentially treat the streamers very nice, and it is the streamers that bring in a lot of new blood into Hearthstone. So yeah, I could certainly see what's a reason for that, certainly to stretch this out. For a low tier streamer though, this just adds to the entire stretching of and teasing of the expansion, which would be fine if the expansion is actually good. Unfortunately, history kind of tells us that these Hearthstone expansions usually only have a handful of interesting cards. Maybe if it's a good expansion, it will add 1 or 2 interesting mechanics, but then even if it does add interesting mechanics, those mechanics never are played upon again. So it's just an abandoned idea after that expansion anyways. So yeah, there's a lot of teasing. Speaking of a lot of teasing, Borderlands 3 is the big talk of the town. Everybody is so hyped on it. We did get out of PAX without them announcing Borderlands 3 as an Epic Store exclusive, which is good news. I mean, that tells us at the very least that they weren't so unaware of the dislike of the Epic Store that they were going to try and promote that as a big thing, as something to get people hyped on. Now, it may be a little more nefarious what Gearbox is doing now, because they are certainly getting people hyped on Borderlands 3, and I am not going to claim to be any exception. I am super hyped after seeing those trailers and those teasers on Borderlands 3. One thing that's got me hyped, I think more than most people would recognize, is that in the trailer they promised over 1 billion guns, whereas in Borderlands 2's trailer they were promising over a gazillion. Gazillion is a made-up term. It's in general just a loose term to indicate a more than 1 billion, a ridiculous amount. So by saying over 1 billion guns, that tells me that they are actually probably going to lower the number of guns in the game, which is a good thing, because Borderlands 2, as someone who recently played it, like, it really doesn't matter if you have a gun generation system like Borderlands does, where you can make basically the exact same gun as the previous one. It just does 0.1 more damage, but the skins look almost exactly the same, and there's no major difference in the feel of it. And it has been my experience, both when I play, every time I've played a Borderlands game, frankly, so four playthroughs through Borderlands games plus at this point, it has always been my experience, you find one gun that you like in your gameplay and you stick to it, and that is just the way it goes. So it doesn't even matter that there's a gazillion or 1 billion guns, because you end up only playing with 50 of them, and then you spend the rest of the time playing menu hero, just tossing out and selling guns. And frankly, that is something that I would have liked to see added to Borderlands 3, is just the ability to disenchant dust and disenchant guns on the fly, so you're not having to carry a whole bunch of loot to a store to sell it. I don't know if that inherently destroys what a looter shooter is, but it's something I would have liked as a quality of life improvement. Is he gonna jump into another game, or am I gonna have to actually play? I think he's gonna jump into another game. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to watch this guy a second time. I didn't do anything since Friends Day. After that really long amount of time playing Hearthstone, I took the day off. I did do some things. I scheduled some videos, and I got in my head what, in general, what the next game is that I would want to cover. So Tragic is browsing his collection, and the other guy went offline, so yeah, that sucks. So we did get off screen I got the Tavern Brawl done, and so we got that reward, so let's open that. So yeah, I scheduled some videos, and in general I went through my Steam account and just kind of refreshed myself on what games I want to cover. There is kind of this danger of me focusing myself too much on AAA games and ending up with like 500 small single A and double A games that I would then have to cover. That might drastically change the amount of footage or the level of footage on my channel. Because yeah, there's a lot of old games, there's a lot of point and click adventures, there's a lot of things. That being said, I guess if I ran into that problem, I could fix that by just playing a JRPG. Like, if I just went heavy into JRPGs or RPGs in general, I could play one RPG while in the same time covering a significant number of smaller games in the second time slot that I'm fulfilling at the moment. So we need to play rogue class cards, and we need to win with the druid or hunter. And I think at this point I don't even want to come off of casual, so I think I'm just gonna, for the end of this month, stay at 12 and play casual. If I have extra time, maybe I would jump in and play with the paladin to see if I could get up higher, but 12 seems like a very good point to end this month. Way higher than I've ever been. Like, I don't think I've even made it to 15 before. So yeah. What was I talking about? Man, I've lost my thought. Yeah. So I've set myself up to kind of figure out what next game is that I need to play. I also took a moment to do some things with my mouse button. Like, I have had buttons, at least 4 buttons on my mouse that I have never used. On top of the standard middle button, left and right click, there's a like thumb up, thumb down, and mouse wheel click left and right. And one of the things that it occurred to me, and I thought to myself, well, if this will work, this would be really cool, is if I could press a button on my mouse while staying in the game and turn up and turn down the volume. No longer would I have scenarios, which have happened in the past, and they happen with some regularity actually, where I'll record a 30-minute to an hour episode and I'll think to myself, well, this is just a little too loud, this is a little too quiet, but there's nothing I can do because the thing I don't want to do while in the middle of recording a footage is to have to hit Alt-Tab, go into the Windows volume control mixer, turn down the volume just for that application, because if I turned it down for everything, which I could do pretty easily because on my keyboard has a volume up and volume down button, but if I do it that way, I'll turn down the volume of OBS. And if I turn down the volume of OBS, well, then I've either doubled the amount that I wanted to turn it down, or in some other way I've messed it up because of just what is a kind of weird rat's nest of how the audio streams are being dealt with, between the microphone and the desktop audio and the video game audio. So I found this program, I forgot the name of it. I think it's called mouse volume or mouse wheel volume or something like that, and it's just a little system tray application that allows you to it allows you to hold down the Alt key on the keyboard as I have it configured right now, which that means that's pretty easy to do, and then just move your mouse wheel down. And normally this would bring up something that would tell you that the volume is going down or that the volume is going up, but I've disabled that, so you can see the audio is completely down. Now I'll turn it all the way back up.
I wonder.
Actually, that's a little too loud. So maybe they didn't have it all the way up. So yeah, so now I have on-the-fly audio adjustment, which is nice. And it means I no longer really have to make a special point of announcing that I'm going to adjust the audio. And I have it configured to make pretty small changes of about 2%. So yeah, that works pretty well. Let's see if we can get it where I want it to be. And so I can just fiddle with the audio as much as I want to without mentioning it outside. This is something outside of OBS, but it is also something that probably should be just built directly into OBS. Meanwhile, I just was able to install, through a lot more effort than it should have taken, Logitech options for Logitech mouse, that now my thumb up button and my thumb down button, what did I set them as? I think I set them to go Control Tab and Control Shift Tab, which in Chrome means to move from one tab to the other. And then, oh yes, I set the left and the right as copy and paste. So now I can just highlight something, bump the mouse wheel to the left to copy it, and then go to like a notepad file and bump the other direction to paste it. And I think I even configured the middle button to cut, because frankly the middle button is never used in anything. So that should be a consideration too.
The light dims, but we fight.
Man, I'm not moving very fast today. Let's see. If I send this back, does that do anything useful? I could do this. So we could do this, and we could do that. And yeah, let's just end the turn there. So we have a decent amount of news, and we'll, I imagine, talk about that. We should just start talking about it. I say it every stream, but ideally I don't want this to go forever. I think it's worth a slight side note to say Randy Pitchford, as somebody who didn't actually watch the PAX East Borderlands announcement and feels like they've gotten all the information they needed to get anyways. it's safe to say Randy Pitchford has not really changed his ways in any real amount.
Justice is mine.
Ooh, the red one tastes like cherries.
And yeah, I guess we'll just leave everything else here for now. He hasn't really changed his ways, and so he spent 20 minutes in the presentation, from what I hear, doing a magic trick, which I could see the benefit of a CEO being able to do magic and in some other way vamp, which is the professional term for making something off the top of your head because something fell through and you have to kill time. I could see the value in that, but I don't believe that that's really the case. I think the number one thing that was scheduled on that presentation was 20 minutes of Randy Pitchford doing a magic trick, which, like, with his
Reporting for duty.
detractors painting him as a fool who does whatever he wants and irritates all the people that actually work with him. I think he would want to try to not play directly into that idea, but it seems to me he really does not care, and he would much prefer to just well, I don't even know how you would say it. He would much prefer to just
Justice is mine. Swiftly.
He'd much prefer to just promote himself. Man, I'm just going quiet. Man, I need to wake up. I started too early, or I slept in too late, more likely. Yeah, it seems like Randy Pitchford is all about himself. He would much prefer to do his magic thing. If he wants to do his magic thing, he should just step down as CEO. He could still be a silent partner or silent owner of Gearbox. He owns the company as far as I understand it. So, but I mean, he should just give up on this ridiculousness. I would also say that maybe he was doing the magic trick, or maybe he was justified doing the magic trick because of the fact of the Penn and Teller game that they announced, and so maybe that was the setup for that. That being said, if you were going to have somebody do a magic trick announcing a Penn and Teller video game, why not Penn and Teller instead of the frankly second-rate hack that Randy Pitchford is? So yeah, that really is just a side mention, but I would say it does say something about the stupidity in which Gearbox is run, that they keep aren't hiding Randy Pitchford in the background until all the accusations and legal stuff is cleared up. Which frankly will never be cleared up because the latest accusations are just the latest in a long list of unprofessionalism in the sense of instead of on the, well, in the case of Randy Pitchford, then he's never going to get around that unless he could just show a really, really good presentation. All right. Okay. Set the remaining health.
Quickly.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose.
Justice is mine.
Alright, well, let's move on. Good thing, I guess, we're playing on casual. Well, that got us halfway through playing the road cards, and that's really all that mattered. So, we're just kind of waiting for somebody that we can watch and learn. And I guess the watch and learn wouldn't be a problem because I can just play my secondary account and watch myself. So moving on, first game for today we have is Terrible Laboratory, and I guess this is probably a great example of, not this game, but this is a great example of why I've started covering news, is the fact that like I kind of can't even keep my sentences together straight some days. This game is looks like a JRPG game. There's something slightly different here, but I'm not sure about this one. It's mostly positive. It's $8.24. I'll put it on the follow list, but it does look like it's an RPG Maker game. So the problem that we would inherently run into is if somebody was to make something like an RPG like Pokemon, which is an RPG, it would just look like an RPG Maker game.
Job's done.
So this might there probably have been at least a dozen RPG games that are actually good that look too much like RPG Maker games. And I think a lot of it really would just come into the level of writing on that too. So the writing might be good in a game, but it's still gonna look pretty bad. So yeah, not even very concise on my decision there. Gematsu has an article. This would theoretically be easier to report upon. Connect City acquires Zero Div. Jaleco and Psycho properties are under one roof. Let's see, what do we want to do here?
Justice is mine.
So let's web peek this. Connect City acquires Zero Dev. Haven't heard of these companies. Jaleco and Psycho. Never heard of it. Zero Div specializes in content development and system engineering services. These must be small-time Japanese companies. Zero Div has developed many titles published by outside companies, as well as supplies system engineering services. It's also released 12 Psycho era titles for the Switch via the Nintendo eShop. So I imagine that this is like a really small company, because there would have been something more to say there. What a pointless article from a Westerner's perspective, because they didn't really list any games even, so I don't have a clue. Next we have a game on Steam called Land War, which looks like it's a color game, kind of like Agra.io. Doesn't look particularly interesting because it's promising multiplayer only games for $4.99 with no discount, which means, yeah, you're gonna have to convince 8 people locally to play this game that looks very generic and rather boring. That's not likely to happen. Okay. Yeah, I guess I just need to wait one turn. Next we have a game on Steam called Cliché Critical Change, which looks like a 4x3 resolution visual novel. It seems like it's a more Western animation style. I seriously doubt any Japanese person would ever animate a dog to look like this, because you know, pit bulls don't really exist in Japan. Yeah, this looks like a pretty generic, they're calling it an adventure simulation game. I'd call it a visual novel. If they want $14.39, they've got a bundle for $122.65. It's discounted by 20%, yeah. And just nothing here as far as these art styles look consistently good. This thumbnail looks slightly interesting, but then this thumbnail and this art style here is a totally different color palette, and it looks like a different artist drew it. Oops. I was gonna play this, return all minions to their hand. We've got quite a lot of things, I believe, to talk about today for Friday. So it wouldn't be a terrible thing if the daily quest took a little bit longer, but ideally I would like to wrap up all of this. You know, of course I always say that, don't I?
Justice is mine.
Job done.
And in return. Next we have a game on Steam called Summer Lotus with a bunch of Asian characters in front of it. It says it's an RPG visual novel. It seems to be a pretty consistent art style compared to the other. It's full screen.
Is someone injured?
Seems like it's probably a romance dating game. 89 cents with a 10% discount seems like it is a pretty cheap price, frankly, for what you're talking about it. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually, yeah, it's 10 different scenes, more than 30 minutes of gameplay, beautiful background music. Well, I don't know, at that price, the short and sweet RPG, like visual novel, might be the right way as an introductory game to play. Although, there is also a very valid argument, I think, to say, perhaps not really, because
justice is mine.
If you do make short and sweet visual novels, you're missing out on the character building and the actual desire to like any of the characters. want to do. What does this one do? Shuffle 1/1 copy
Justice
into
is
deck.
mine.
So I'll put Summer Lotus on the follow list and see what true fans of the visual novel series think about that, because that's an interesting idea, but it might be an idea that can't be really fulfilled or done, depending on what is important in a visual novel. I think most would argue that a visual novel is inherently by name supposed to be a novel and not a short story. Alright. Well, because that one was brought in that way, that works. Let's get rid of this guy.
Justice is mine. Swiftly.
There we go. Next we have a game on Steam called Stick and Bones, which seems like you're playing as a skeleton in what looks like a almost point and click adventure game. It kind of feels like this is a direct clone or copy of Monkey Island, but this might just be references to the Secret of Monkey Island and the Monkey Island series. I want to give this one a chance. It's $8.99 discounted, but there is a decent. There are definitely elements here that look like they have been directly traced from Monkey Island, or if not directly traced, just heavily inspired from Monkey Island. But that's not inherently a bad thing either, in my mind, because I'm cool with that idea. Alright. 4. This. Can we do all of these? Yes, we can. Four more rogue cards. I think we can probably move over and try to play some Druid and Hunter. So we just keep that. Between trying to win 3 Druid and Hunter casual games, there's a chance I'll play 4 rogue cards anyways. Next is the game Unheard on Steam, already rated very positively. I believe this game was already on our follow list and we talked about it, but apparently I got hyped, saw a hype article about it before it actually came out. It's $5.10. So this is a game where you are doing a detective mystery puzzle game. You have, in general, just this map and voices you're hearing, and you're trying to figure out who is who and solve the mystery. A lot like the Return to Oberdin, if the Return to Oberdin didn't have its fancy 3D visuals and fancy Macintosh looking art style to it, which inherently I think that was a very interesting creative decision in the Return to Oberdin that probably isn't a mandatory thing to do to make a puzzle where it's just you're gonna hear facts and have to figure out what's going on. That being said, I would also say Oberdin had some visual clues, whereas Unheard over here is probably not going to have many, if any, visual clues other than this is a facility that seems to be heavily mic'd in, and you're going to know what mic you're hearing voices from. It's an interesting idea for a game. Might be a little difficult to show off, quite frankly, but it'd be something I'm willing to certainly try and play. Another game I'm kind of hyped and would like to play is Baba Is You. I guess it is also worth mentioning, and this is in no way a promise, I do own Undertale, and it has been moved in my Steam library to a higher position, so I know that it's on the list of games to cover. I should. This year in particular, I've been focusing on just playing games I want to, and not trying to play things that I think will get views. But if my people who are actually fans are coming up on the streams and telling me I should play Undertale, then I probably should play Undertale. It's really that simple.
Job's done.
This guy's just gonna kill that. That sucks. I didn't think that through. So yeah, there are a few games out there that I should get around to playing. Just because I know people have asked me about him multiple times. That being said, I'm not 100% certain that people asking me about Undertale would actually translate into even those same people actually watching me play Undertale, but it would end in those questions just like, yeah, I've played Undertale, there's a whole playlist there, so go check it out. If I could make that statement, instead of, yeah, I own it, but I haven't gotten around to it, that's not as good of a retort. Next we have a game on Steam called Black Salt Corruption, which is a fighting game, and it's from kind of like I've never heard of companies, so like I don't know what you do here. It could be really well programmed, it could be terribly programmed. I wouldn't have a clue. I don't know anything about fighting games. I'm a noob. I'm not even a noob to fighting games. I have yet to even try to play any fighting games with any real interest. This game is early access for $17.99. I guess in my ignorance I just need to put it in the follow list and see what happens. See whether people who are smarter than me and more familiar with that style of games can identify whether that game is one worth playing. Yep. Let's see. 5. This, and this. If I hit this, and that. And then hit the face twice, we should be able to get victory. Next we have on Steam Onigiri, which looks like it's probably a Chinese MMO game, free to play. So it's a free to play game, so this is the only shout out it's gonna get. It doesn't look particularly interesting to me either. It's an MMO, it has in-app purchases, It supports Japanese and Chinese, so it might be a Japanese game too. This might have been a mobile game MMO that's being ported to Steam. It's mostly positive, I'll say that much, but being a free-to-play game, it's not one I would play. Being an MMO, it's not one I would play. So there's 2 strikes against it immediately. Well, that worked, so let's ride the streak and play with Hunter again. Gamer Sutra has an article. Hyperlight Drifter developer confirms a TV series is in the works. I may not own Hyperlight Drifter. I should double check. And if I do, I should try to play it before the TV series comes out. Actually, though, in all fairness, if they've just now confirmed that a TV series is in the works, you probably have at least a good 2 to 3 years before that would actually come out and be finished. Particularly since this article is saying it's being developed by the developer and producer who created the Netflix adaptations of Castlevania and the upcoming Devil May Cry. So if they're still working on Devil May Cry right now, that gives you more time to worry that it will take to come out. And if it's animated, that gives you more time. So I imagine this also would just be one of many production deals that could fall through at any second. So, yeah. Also, in all fairness, something being made into a TV series has not, for my small YouTube channel, shown an increase in views. Frankly, nothing shows an increase in views, but in fairness, yeah, I just don't see that as a real issue or a real bump. When I do get bumps, and I really haven't gotten a bump in views in a long time, it usually comes from just random weirdness, just complete and total randomness. And it's very unpredictable and very, very unplannable. At least from what I can tell. I think I probably do just have all 3 beasts. Hero power targets adjacent enemies. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. The Humble Bundle founders step down from executive roles. Humble Bundle, the article goes on to say, Humble Bundle started as a modest campaign to give indie devs more visibility while raising some funds for charity. Co-founder Jeffrey Rosen was the president of Wolffire, that's WOLFIRE Games, developer of Overgrowth, among other titles. Collaborating with other indie devs, the first Humble Indie Bundle was launched in 2010, raising 1.3 million, some of it's for charity. As of 2017, the established company has raised over 100 million for charity, which over the course of 9 years is probably not as good as you would think. Let's see. It is an inspiring success. The article continues, it's an inspiring success story that speaks to the best potential of the game industry. Alright, now I'm going to throw in my editorial. Last year, I believe Sega, but I could be wrong about this, bought out Humble as a company and changed the Humble store into Fanatical. And so if you've been getting fanatical.com emails in your and you don't know where that's coming from, those were Humble store emails, and Fanatical has become this, like, where really nothing is going to be on sale for or give to a charity. It's just another storefront. And when that happened, I suspected heavily that they were just going to slowly try and wean people away from doing the Humble bundles, which were good deals giving to charity, and move everybody to Fanatical bundles, which are just going to be lesser deals with all the profit going towards the parent company, which I think is Sega. Now, it is also fair to say, if you've been working somewhere for 9 years, there's a valid argument to say you're just tired of working there. Nobody really sticks to that fantasy of working somewhere for 30 years then retiring. But you wouldn't have both the CEO and the COO stepping down at the exact same time. And that's where we'll get back into this article. In the next paragraph, it's, as the company approaches its 10th anniversary, co-founders Jeffrey Rosen and John Graham have announced they're stepping down from their roles as CEO and CEO, respectively, as reported by GamingIndustry.biz. Contrary to what some might have expected, however, the company is going through its best period of all time, as Graham told it. It's been 10 years, and after doing it for a while, I'm in a place where I think it's time for me to take a break. The business is doing amazingly well. 2018 was the best year, and 2019 is off to the best start ever. We got to go on stage at the Epic keynote. We got tons of momentum, but we found somebody who's better at taking the business to new heights in the future than we are. Yeah, that sounds to me like a load of hogwash. It sounds to me what happened here is the parent company that owns them, unless I got my story completely wrong here, I think the parent company that owns them is forcing them to disappear. Let's see. Rosen and Graham plan to leave Humble Bundle in the hands of the capable executive Alan Patmore, more recently the CPO of Kixeye, and previously taking manager roles at Zynga and Double Fine. What else? What else in this article is worth mentioning? Yeah, I'm not sure that there's anything else to mention here. That they're kind of ignoring the fact that Fanatical is a thing and a part of this. Yeah, okay, here at the bottom it says, even after Humble Bundle was acquired by IGN Entertainment in 2017. So apologies to Sega, it wasn't Sega, it was IGN Entertainment. That's a pretty big mistake to make. So yeah, IGN, not particularly any better. So yeah. And see, this is where everything in video games has gotten so hostile that I could read a conspiracy into this without there being any evidence to any conspiracy at all. It could be that the two people are stepping down for no reason other than they've worked there a long time, and they both decided just to do it at the same time because they I guess were talking about that as an idea. Or it could be that this is 100% a case of IGN wants somebody new in charge, or there's some weird thing that was said by Jeffrey Rosen or John Graham, or they would just not SJW enough for IGN would be what my conspiracy, my tinfoil would tell them about this. In the end, ignoring any conspiracy theories like that, as everybody should. Just there's zero evidence. This is blatant speculation I'm making. This is applaudable. It is the way to handle business. Like, even if there is some kind of internal conflict, whatever that internal conflict is, and IGN wants these two people out, it is being done professionally at the moment. There are no accusations, there's no claims, there's no rumors. It's just we're stepping down. This is the courtesy that is often only given to people at the top, whereas many other employees would be just walked out the door. And sometimes that courtesy is extended in extreme situations when many people feel it shouldn't be extended.
None will survive.
But yes, your Humble Bundle does not look bad in this story at all. This feels like a very bland Just the Facts article. In the end, if Humble Bundle continues to offer good deals, where I can donate 100% of the money to the charity, heck, even if it was I could only donate half of the sales to the charity, I would still be pretty okay with buying games on Humble Bundle, as long as they're giving me Steam and keys. Now, once they stop giving Steam keys, that's my end of my love affair with Humble Bundle. Speaking of Humble Bundle, I haven't gotten around to buying those two bundles. I probably will end up doing that later today. So I tried to limit myself down to only buying one bundle per month, but you know, sometimes two are good deals. That the two bundles being the visual novel bundle with Clannad at the $15 level, and the QV bundle with Bomber Crew at the $15 level. And I'm not sure how far I would go with the QV bundle, but see, part of the problem with buying Bomber Crew at $15 and then getting several other games for free, which is how I would look upon that, is that I probably wouldn't I screwed up there. I'll kill my guy for no reason. Moving on to the next story, GameIndustry.biz has an article. A hacker has been sentenced to 18 months imprisonment for accessing Microsoft and Nintendo services. A security researcher shared access to internal servers via IRC, Internet Relay Chat, hacked Nintendo servers while on bail for accessing Microsoft's servers. So apparently, this guy had been caught and was still at it. Now, this is a London court that sentenced two men, apparently, to imprisonment after one hacked into both Microsoft and Nintendo's internal services. I wouldn't be surprised if this is some more of that European overreach. Article 13 passed. There's another article of concern. So I don't know how much hacking actually really happened here. Says the story here goes, a 24-year-old security researcher gained access to a Microsoft server using an internal username and password in January of 2017. Now, in the United States, at least, that is not hacking. And by any reasonable person in the know, that is not hacking. If you have guessed somebody's password and username, you have not bypassed the security in any way. You've just logged in. And arguably, maybe there's some laws against logging in to a service you're not authorized to log into, but in the United States that really wouldn't have led to any real police report.
Truth is my shield.
Over the next 3 weeks, Clark used web shells to remotely access, search, and upload and download files from the network, in total stealing around 43,000 files. He also shared the server access with others over the IRC channels, enabling numerous others worldwide to also obtain confidential company information. He was eventually caught in June of that year. So, not a very smart hacker, it seems like.
What to do?
Because, like, if you were gonna do this kind of stuff, you would want to be on the down low about it, and not broadcasting and show off. One of the people who gained access to the servers via Clark's was another person who appeared with him in London court. Why are they being tried together? That shouldn't happen. After being arrested, Clark was released on bail, but while awaiting trial, he hacked into Nintendo's network via VPNs and stole numerous usernames and passwords. In total, Nintendo estimates between 900,000 and 2 million in damages. Microsoft estimates 2 million. These are clearly made up numbers. Like, when you can buy stolen passwords on the deep web for like less than a penny each, and the argument here is that he stole numerous usernames and passwords. Let's say he stole all of Nintendo's usernames and passwords that ever existed in any of their services. That still would be less than 900,000 usernames and passwords. So the idea of just allowing a corporation to basically make up a number is hardly in the interest of justice. That would be at least my argument against it. See, apparently Clark was also involved by security. Was also involved in the data breach of Hong Kong electronics manufacturers VTech in 2015, and has worked at Malwarebytes and in other security research roles for years, uncovering security flaws in various software and apps. So apparently this guy was a real white hat hacker at some point, and now they're saying he's a black hat hacker. This might be Malwarebytes. I mean, I guess inherently this might be the problem with a lot of this, is that in the law eyes of many countries, anybody who does any kind of security research is probably just a hacker in their mind, and there's not going to be any way of dissuading people believing that. Let's see.
Time waits for no one. For the wild.
So yeah, I really don't know how to take this story. On one hand, it seems like he might be getting the book thrown at him for doing something, for being accused of something very different from what actually he really did. On the other hand, maybe the London courts are exactly right, and this guy is just crazy and stupid and worked at some point with Malwarebytes and was sort of a gray hat, sort of a white hat, and then decided to just become a black hat hacker and steal data. I mean, frankly, what's confusing about this to me is if you have the skills and you're working for Malwarebytes, why ruin the part that is the valuable part there, the part where you can make money and not be under threat of prosecution to then turn into a black hat hacker. Oh, this is gonna hurt. Alright. Gain 6 armor. Gain more armor.
Time waits for no one. For the wild.
Yeah, I'm not gonna win here. Yeah, I don't get that story. Like, why would you go from white hat to black hat?
This jungle hides
Why would you try to make money that way when that's not really where the big money is, unless straight up a government entity is going to pay you to be a black hat hacker. It's a lot harder, at least in my mind, as I understand it, it would be a lot harder to sell passwords. Like, Microsoft and Nintendo passwords, not particularly worth that much.
I don't have enough
Particularly in the article, and it's saying none of the Nintendo passwords were even consumer passwords. So, yeah. Even if you were trying to find corporate secrets and sell them to somebody else, like, I don't think that would really work. For as evil as I think corporations are, I don't think you could hack Microsoft and sell corporate secrets to Apple. I don't think you could hack Nintendo and sell corporate secrets to Sony. Not as some stranger that nobody ever knows. Like, nice. So yeah, that's a confusing story. On the other hand, maybe he's just has no impulse control. That would probably be the best argument there, is just like, oh, he's just obsessed and compulsed to hack things, and that's all he does. And he can't stop himself. I don't know. I'm reminded to like the beginning of the movie Hackers, when I hear a story like this. It's just like, is this really just a bunch of judges that don't know how the internet works getting fed a line that hackers are the worst thing possible ever, and throwing the book at them? Moving on, TechRaptor has an article, Resort Boss Golf March Update adds Course Builder and more. I don't know what Resort Boss is, but seems like it's kind of a simplistic game that's in early access. It was released in February. So this is kind of one of those hype articles that doesn't matter. This guy needs to just take his victory and move on. We've got a lot of news here, and I keep getting stuck on specific stories that are actually interesting me, which is a kind of a rarity, frankly. A lot of the video game news is not that interesting, but it's kind of important to know to stay in line, to stay up to date. Alright, when the druid didn't work, back to Hunter. TechRaptor has an article, Twin Stick Shooter Pressure Overdrive launches for the Nintendo Switch April 4th. Looks like it's a car vehicle game of some sort. I'm not even going to bother to watch the trailer. In fact, I should probably stop watching a lot of trailers to just save time. If it's a Switch exclusive, it doesn't really matter.
Let the hunt begin.
And we might have hit a point here where we're going to start covering Gearbox at PAX East, which pretty much means now that PAX East is done, there really wasn't anything else announced at PAX, so that they dominated that presentation, for better or for worse. That seems to be how that broke down. So we have TechRaptor as an article, Gearbox at PAX East, We Happy Few, They Came From Below DLC.
Is someone injured?
This is let's see, what is this DLC? It's part of the game's season pass. Players can expect to hear more details from They Came From Below. As for the new DLC, we don't know much about it other than the fact that the first two characters named Roger and James. So it seems like it's probably just an enemy and maybe some slight area changes, if I was to guess.
Job done. I moves quickly.
I don't think that you're gonna get much of an update. At this point, I imagine what We Happy Few is doing is the creators of it are they're doing the bare minimum to not get sued because of what they promised in their Kickstarter campaign, while not actually putting much effort into anything else. That's my suspicion there. If they were really going to fix We Happy Few, it would cost probably way too much for what it's worth. And I don't think they have a clue how to actually fix it. Next we have a game on Steam called Road to Your City, which looks like just a low effort Sim City game. It's not very polished. It looks alright, but not great. I don't see a reason why you would want to play this over City Skylines. It's in early access for $9.99. Why does a SimCity game need to be in early access? We've seen SimCity games over and over and over again. So yeah, that's not making it to the fall list. Next we have a game on Steam called Space Pilgrim Academy Reunion. Looks like it's an RPG Maker game. Yeah, nothing here looks interesting. $1.69. Yeah, that too, not making it to the fall list. I keep saying I need to clean up the fall list. I'm not sure when I'm gonna find time to do it. I'm just kind of putting it off. I don't know when the next I don't know when the next Steam sale is even gonna happen. So that is a slight issue too. Apparently TechRaptor is down, so I can't look at this next article. But I don't think it really matters because the article was Risk of Rain 2 has been announced, and I believe you can sign up for it in early access right now. Yeah, actually, if TechRaptor's website is down, that's going to cut down half of the stories just immediately. Next we have a game on Steam called Dead Army Radio Frequency, which looks like a zombie tower defense.
Hello.
Well, maybe not a tower defense game, just a top-down zombie game.
Greetings, traveler. I hunt alone.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything interesting in this game. Dead Army Radio Frequency is $10.99. It's bundled with another game for $13.18. Yeah, I don't see anything here interesting enough. Zombie games in particular, you're in this weird position where there's not a good reason to make a zombie game these days. It's been done so many times. Quite frankly, you might as well, if you want to make a zombie game, just make a skeleton game. Just make a goblin game. Make a fairy game. Just make them something different than zombies.
What to do? What to do?
Just create some made-up species. Put a little bit of creativity in your game. Next we have a game on Steam here called Nowhere Stations. Looks like a top-down twin-stick shooter that's actually particularly slow. And it's using the neon colors, which I find visually distracting. It's $5.59. I don't see anything here that interests me. Yeah, so...
To my side.
Runs out on me.
TechRaptor has an article, so maybe their site's back up. 2K stopped disc to Steam conversions of Borderlands 1 one day before the Game of the Year announcement. I find it kind of confusing that they announced a Borderlands 1 Game of the Year edition, because I'm fairly certain there already was a Game of the Year edition. So it seems like they're rebranding or remaking something that already exists. Maybe there just wasn't a Game of the Year edition, but there was some kind of edition. There was some kind of Ultimate Vault Hunters edition or something that gave you all the DLC. There is, frankly, at the moment, no evidence whatsoever that any of these games that have been remakes are going to come to Steam as free updates. So I'm in a weird position where I absolutely have no time to play Borderlands 1 yet again. Even if you're going to get this upgrade and it's going to allow for some small tweaks and and possibly like better graphics. Like that kind of doesn't matter. Like, so maybe if I'm rolling in cash and the Game of the Year editions are really cheap, but here, even in this action, you can kind of see that there's some problems with 2K and Gearbox being greedy, because they clearly didn't want you to be able to convert Borderlands 1 to Steam and then possibly be confused that you're not getting the Game of the Year edition, but you have just gotten the regular edition. Well, that's going to be it for this recording, and I'm going to have to take a break, so I'll be back in about 20 minutes. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.